Eric Trump will be on the stand this morning around 10 a.m. He was here yesterday, testified for much of the day after his brother Don Jr. And yesterday he told prosecutors that he was a trustee in the Trump organization, a very high-ranking position. But even so, he told prosecutors that he was not intimately familiar with the financials of the organization. They left that up to the experts, especially accountants who knew all of these numbers, excessive numbers, really big numbers. What prosecutors want to prove here is that they knew much more about the financials than they're telling prosecutors and than they're publicly saying. This is a matter that has already gone through the first phase, where the judge in this case has determined that fraud was committed by the former president and other people who work in the Trump organization, overvaluing their assets so that they're able to get more favorable bank rates. So that's the first phase. The judge has already determined that there's fraud. But now he will have to determine just how much money they could have to pay back to the state of New York. The state wants $250 million, and the very key portion of if they will be able to retain control of their company. We know that this is something that is very important to the former president. That's why he's shown up here even when he doesn't have to testify just yet. So those are the things that are at stake. Yesterday got extremely heated inside the courtroom, and we were able to hear from one of the attorneys after she walked out. Take a listen to what she had to say.
This is a waste of time. We heard testimony from an expert this week. Ms. James wasn't here for that day because it wasn't good for her. He's been paid by New York taxpayer dollars $450,000 in the past few months to come here and testify. That's your money. That's not my money. It is a crime.
Now, the attorneys are not the only ones who are criticizing the Attorney General, Leticia James, and the judge. Former President Donald Trump has also been very vocal about this, very critical. In fact, after his sons testified yesterday, he posted something on social media, once again criticizing the process. And this is what he said. He said, "So sad to see my sons being persecuted in a political witch hunt by this out-of-control, publicity-seeking New York State judge on a case that should have never been brought." The former president, as I've mentioned, has been inside this courtroom. He's been very close, sitting relatively close to the Attorney General, who has been inside the courtroom, Leticia James. In fact, she was here yesterday. And something that was really interesting, after one of the recess, Eric Trump actually walked over and started having some sort of small talk, pleasantries with Leticia James, who was sitting in the audience watching all of the proceedings take place. As for the former president, he's expected to be here in New York City next week, Monday, to take the stand himself. He will be testifying on Monday in this process that has been so vital for the existence, the future existence of his company. Then he'll be followed by his daughter, Ivanka Trump, on Wednesday, everyone.
Wouldn't we all like to know what Eric Trump and Leticia James were chatting about? Hard to see them grabbing martinis
Let me tell
after court, but yeah.
Let me tell you about that.
Yeah, please.
The courtroom is really big. The courtroom's really big, surprisingly. So I was all the way in the back, and Eric Trump, he's really tall. So once he walked in and I saw that he came from the defense table and walked back towards Leticia James, I stood up. I was that nosy reporter from all the way in the back, looking to see what the interactions were. And so, you know, you wish you could hear what was being said, but there were smiles on the faces. People were just being really pleasant. But on the flip side of all of that, whenever things got heated inside, defense attorneys were very outspoken, including Christopher Kise, one of the lead defense attorneys, who at one point told the judge that he believed the process was biased.
And again, just to fast forward to next week, because essentially the defense here has been, listen, we didn't know this was going on. Our financial team did this. They're all kind of
signed the paper.
Yeah, we just signed the paper. They're trying to separate themselves, saying, yeah, but other people are responsible, not us. But again, there have not been many times in Donald Trump's life and career where he has been on the stand. I assume, will he be subject to cross-examination? He's a tough client in a lot of different ways. And so that moment we see on Monday is going to be very unusual and abnormal for him. So paint that scene just a little bit more for us. Even though the judge already found fraud, the former president being on that stand is quite a moment. And Donald Trump is a volatile guy. That's going to be theater at its best.
Oh, absolutely. There was one moment yesterday where Eric Trump got a little bit agitated. He is much more soft-spoken than his older brother. That was the only time that we saw something like that. But imagine the former president sitting on the stand and being pressed by prosecutors in this case. We have to wait to see what happens, how he will react. Will he be able to remain calm? The defense has done no cross-examination that I have seen of their clients once they get on the stand. So it's possible that they will not do cross-examination of the former president, but we can see a lot of objections. There's this legal term called asked and answered. Yesterday, we saw a lot of objections when Eric Trump was repeatedly asked certain questions, and his defense attorneys believed that he had already answered those questions. They thought it was badgering, that they were pushing, the prosecution was pushing the witness too much. We could see a lot of that. There are 3 defense attorneys who will be sitting at the table, and they will be standing up, physically standing up in the courtroom to defend their client if they believe the former president is being badgered too much once he gets on the stand. Let me tell you, people are going to be lining up really early to get inside because people will want to see what happens on Monday.
All right, national political correspondent Ava Joy Burnett, live in New York. Thank you.